Everybody, today is Monday, May the 7th, and you are watching FCN Prime News. I am your anchor, Tresnay, editor of all things news, business, and politics here at the Fifth Column Network. I have some great stories for you guys today, including the details of the two black men who were dismembered in their murder by a couple of white boys, with some details about that. People are calling it a modern-day lynching. 2, details on Donald Trump's statement that his approval numbers among blacks are increasing. Spoiler alert, it was not true. And then 3rd, I'm definitely going to tell you, a new report has been issued and unarmed shootings by police are actually down. More of that coming up next. But first, Jayco is here in the studio. What short stories do you have for us today?
Tresnay, thank you for considering me and allowing me to also do stories on the Prime News show. I don't know why I said that, because it's not your decision. But I still appreciate you kicking it over to me. Tonight we got some interesting sports stories. I'll be talking a little bit of NBA. We're talking a little bit of football. That's football, not American football. And Churchill Downs got some very interesting news out of the Kentucky Derby. You will not want to miss it. I promise you. But until then, back to Tresnay for our news stories.
All right, here we go. It's Prime News. All right, y'all, FCN Prime News is live on Periscope and Facebook. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. The Fifth Column Network has tons of programming, and you do not want to miss out on a single thing. You can also binge watch any of our programs, including FCN Prime News, on our website, thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. Make sure you bookmark that so you can check. First up, in our news stories for this evening, 3 white men have been charged and arrested for killing and dismembering the body of 2 black men. A 16-year-old and 3 others have been charged in the deaths of 2 black men whose dismembered bodies were found chained to cinder blocks in a Moore, Oklahoma pond. Jaron Moreland and Alize Ramon Smith, both 21, were found dead on April 18th, 4 days after they arranged to meet 2 of the suspects in a Craigslist gun sale that went horribly wrong, authorities said. Brett Boatler, 16, now faces 2 charges of murder, while his brother Kevin Garcia Boatler, his mother Crystal Boatler, and her boyfriend Johnny Barker are charged with being an accessory to their murder. The 2 brothers arranged a meeting over Craigslist to buy a gun from Smith and Moreland, authorities said in their report and affidavit. Garcia Boatler told investigators that he was driving a white minivan with his younger brother in the passenger's seat when they picked up the 2 victims. They were in a grocery store parking lot when all went down. Garcia Boatler told police that Moreland got out of his car and sat in the back seat of their van. He says he then heard a gun rack and turned around to find that his younger brother had shot 4 rounds and killed the 2 black men. The brothers then called their mother, who told them to drive to a property where her boyfriend Johnny Barker helped them remove the bodies from the van. The bodies were then dismembered, covered with tarps, and chained to cinder blocks before they dumped the bodies into a nearby pond. After the 2 victims were reported missing, police traced Smith's text messages back to Brett Boatler. Detectives found dried blood on the ceiling of the van, along with cleaning products around the van. Jigsaw blades and a chainsaw bar were soaking in a bucket of water nearby, and police say that they also recovered spray bleach, pliers, a hatchet, and chainsaw parts nearby, according to a search warrant. Barker admitted to removing parts of the minivan, while the mother, Crystal Boatler, helped clean blood from inside of the car, the 3 suspects told police. The young boys' bodies were found 4 days later, dismembered in that pond. 16-year-old Brett is charged with 1st and 2nd degree murder, unlawful removal of a dead body, desecration of a human corpse, and possessing a firearm after delinquent adjudication. Garcia Boatler, he is charged with accessory after the fact and the unlawful removal of a body as well. Barker, the boyfriend, is charged with the same, in addition to being charged with desecration of a human corpse. The boy's mother, who is age 40, is also charged. She's being charged with being an accessory. Authorities say they are not going to pursue a hate crime prosecution in their killings, as prosecutors say there isn't enough evidence to show that this was racially motivated. Condolences to the boy's family. In Utah, a startling incident took place inside a courtroom involving a man taking very extreme measures in an apparent attempt to escape. Christopher Clay Rudd was sitting handcuffed, appearing in court because he allegedly failed to undergo court-ordered treatment when he suddenly made a daring, albeit unsuccessful, break for the exit, which was one floor below. Check out this security video showing him bolt from the courtroom and officers scrambling to try to catch him. Spoiler alert, they didn't make it in time. I don't know about y'all, but when I watched it about 10 times, I couldn't imagine how he survived that fall. But he did. And a court spokesperson said that he suffered a broken leg and pelvis as well as a fractured skull. Police said it wasn't clear whether he was deliberately trying to hurt himself. He is now due back in court on May 21st, where Rudd could face additional charges for the escape attempt. In an effort to create a better relationship with their community's youth, one Michigan police department had the great idea to change its squad cars to read Popo instead of police. After saying on their Facebook page it has been helpful to connect them with the community, the department posted a status update saying, and I quote, "We are still struggling to really reach the younger folk out there. So in an effort to bridge that gap, we've decided to update our patrol car graphics in an attempt to be more relatable to the local youth." They ended it with 3 hashtags, including hashtag hoping for more waving with all 5 fingers. The department, which has received a lot of attention since posting the photo on April 28th, conceded later that it was a joke picture made up in Microsoft Paint. They need to fire their PR and comms director because this isn't how you do this. When was the last time you heard someone refer to the cops as the Popo? When was the last time you heard someone say that they use Microsoft Paint? I don't know. Tragic. In New Jersey, a school superintendent is arrested after allegedly repeatedly pooping on the school's football field. District Superintendent Thomas Tramaglini, age 42, was identified as the mystery pooper in New Jersey after staff set up surveillance cameras to figure out who had been leaving them feces more than twice a week for months. My kids are laughing. He was arrested as he returned to the scene of the crime at the high school around 5:50 a.m. last Monday. Police officers are believed to have observed him evacuating his bowels before confronting him as he began running at the school track, although police have declined to tell media how he was identified as the suspect or whether officers actually caught him in the act of defecating. Mr. Tremaglini, who lives about 3 miles from the school, was charged with lewdness, littering, and defecating in public. He has taken a paid leave of absence from his $148,000 a year job. According to the school board, leave can only be unpaid if a person has been actually indicted or faces tenure charge according to state law. In the meantime, the fact that Mr. Tremaglini hasn't been convicted of this crime yet hasn't stopped him from being dubbed the pooperintendent and the poopertrator and the mad crapper online. Tremaglini is also charged with littering. He is due in municipal court to answer to these charges today. In a small victory for those against the alt-right, the website of Richard Spencer has been taken down by GoDaddy. The web hosting company GoDaddy has cut ties from altright.com, established by white nationalist Richard Spencer, because the website has been found to have advocated violence. Spencer works for the National Policy Institute, an organization that claims it is, quote, dedicated to the heritage, identity, and future of people of European descent in the United States and around the world, unquote. According to a spokesperson for GoDaddy, GoDaddy claimed it typically does not behave in ways that could be interpreted as censorship and said that the company believes in exercising free speech. But GoDaddy argued that alt-right.com went beyond the mere exercise of these freedoms and crossed over into promoting, encouraging, or otherwise engaging in specific acts of violence against any person, and they say that they will take action if that happens. The spokesperson also added that GoDaddy doesn't condone content that advocates expression of hate, expressions of racism, or bigotry. This removal of alt-right.com comes only a few weeks after Facebook removed 2 Facebook pages associated with Spencer. Those pages belong to Spencer's National Policy Institute, which describes itself, as I mentioned earlier, as dedicated to the heritage of people of European descent, and his website, alt-right.com. Twitter has yet to ban Spencer. GoDaddy did give Spencer 48 hours to transfer his domain to a different host before it was removed, but apparently he thought they were bluffing. Spencer said that he is seeking to revive the site by conducting business with another host within the next few days. While the alt-right scrambles to figure out its next move for its site, experts are saying that unarmed police shootings are down in number significantly. Fatal shootings of unarmed black men, such as the recent high-profile case in Sacramento in March of Stephen Clark, were among the kinds of killings that have fallen, according to a recent report that's been issued. In 2015, police shot and killed 94 unarmed individuals, a number that fell to 51 in 2016 before rising to 68 in 2017. This year, police have shot and killed 18, 8 fewer than at this same time last year. Criminologists are saying that the downturn in number of cases and their own analysis of the data indicate that evidence of racial bias by police who shoot and kill unarmed blacks has declined, but it just hasn't disappeared. Academics warn against overinterpreting the data, however, relating to a decline of evidence of bias. The numbers, they say, are so small that even a few cases recorded in error could produce a different result. The ongoing project at the Washington Post has found that police have shot and killed 3,309 people since 2015, or more than twice as many fatal shootings per year as the average reported by the FBI. Of those killed, 231 or 7% were not armed with guns, knives, or other objects that could be used as weapons at the time of the shootings, according to the data. Blacks have been shot and killed at rates significantly higher than their percentage of the overall U.S. population. Blacks make up about 13% of the United States population, but 23% of those fatally shot by police since 2015. For unarmed shootings, black were 36% of those killed. The academic researchers found that blacks who were fatally shot were twice as likely to be unarmed as whites. Experts say it's not clear what changed and emphasized a need for more years of data and shooting details to understand these trends. So yes, this report is a good sign, but this is certainly still a problem. Speaking of statistical accuracy, President Trump hasn't been telling the truth about an increase in the number of black supporters since pairing up with Kanye West. President Trump recently bragged about his support among black men, saying his support doubled when he received endorsement from Kanye West. His claim has been repeated thousands of times on TV and online. Some media figures have actually treated it as fact, but it is not. I fact checked. Here's the story of how this all happened. The president found a poll that he liked. And he brought up the poll in a May 4th speech shown live on CNN and all of the other cable channels. In the speech, he thanked Kanye West, the rapper who recently has provoked outrage by promoting Trump. He said, and I quote, "Kanye West must have some kind of power," he said, "because you probably saw I doubled my African American poll numbers. We went from 11 to 22 in 1 week. Thank you, Kanye. Thank you," unquote. That poll, my FCN friends, was a completely unreliable poll. It sampled not even 200 black men, and the sample wasn't random. And if you know anything about scientific surveys and polls, there are two things that are a must. The sample has to be large enough to satisfy the mathematical requirements for generalization of a population. And 2, those who participate in the poll can't have been selected using a selection method that doesn't give all individuals in the population equal chances of being selected. Even the news organization responsible for the poll, Reuters, says its data is being misconstrued. So no, his approval numbers from Black Americans didn't jump from 11 to 22, guys. It just absolutely did not. In entertainment news, the hashtag Mute R. Kelly campaign continues on, and it has picked up incredible steam with the publication of a full expose by the Washington Post this weekend. The expose gives a detailed account how the music business helped cover up R. Kelly's sex cult at every single turn. It contains new interviews with music executives, victims, and former Kelly employees. It is incredibly scandalous. One of the most shocking items were these photos showing a cup of urine on a baby grand piano and some urine stains left on the floor after R. Kelly used a recording studio. The journalist who wrote the expose at Jeff Edgers obtained these pictures from someone who worked at the music studio. Yes, this is a cup full of pee left after R. Kelly used the studio. He is alleged to have forced women to do this. Here is a relevant screen capture, including 2 text messages between 2 staff members. It says he expected them to follow the rules, which were told to the Post by multiple who lived with Kelly. The live-in girlfriends refer to him as daddy, and they must ditch social media, hand over cell phones, and cut off families and friends. They must text either Kelly or an assistant if they want to leave their rooms or exit one of the black cargo vans that Kelly travels in. When he's in the studio, these rules have left women stuck in back rooms, stranded for hours, hungry, and forced to pee in cups. Check out this text message exchange between 2 Kelly staffers. It says, "What? No restroom for 12 dang hours? Oh yeah, she's in trouble. He had her using bottles. There's a sink in that bedroom, so she hasn't been off since the show? Wow, that's inhumane. I hope she's alive." So-and-so said that he spanked her not long. Another person said, "Is she getting food?" Says that she's been left in the studio for 2 days. She didn't move around. We never know or figure out what the real deal is in that camp if we don't witness it or see it with our eyes or hear it with our ears. Whew, that's crazy. You should check out the article when you get a chance. It starts with Aaliyah and gives great detail about the cover-up from their own label and goes all the way until today with the claim that he gave a woman herpes. It even details his introduction to sexual abuse that he endured as a child. Whew. Since the start of the grassroots social media and on-the-ground protest campaign of Mute R. Kelly, 10 of his concerts have been canceled. In a news story, girls at charter schools are being found to regularly bleed through their pants for a refusal to allow them bathroom breaks. Female students at a network of Chicago area charter schools are being found to regularly bleed through their pants when they get their periods because the schools aren't allowing them to take bathroom breaks. Originally reported by NPR, the Noble network of charter schools doesn't allow the students to go to the bathroom when they need to go to the bathroom, like most public schools. Instead, they are forced to rely upon unreliable bathroom escorts who oversee the students' use of lavatory facilities on the various campuses associated with the network. This policy has led to various problems. One student noted this. She said, and I quote, "We have bathroom escorts and they rarely come to the classroom. So we end up walking out of class and that gets us into trouble. But who wants to walk around knowing that there's blood on them? It can even stain the seats. They just need to be more understanding." In fact, the issue of the female students forced to suffer through inadequately and infrequently changed tampons and menstrual pads is nothing new for the Noble network of charter schools. Last year, 3 student journalists banded together with 2 teachers and successfully persuaded Noble administrators to change the dress code. Not the policy on bathrooms, but the dress code. Female students' pants went from being khaki colored to black so that the stains would be less obvious. Now the issue has come up again. In response, Noble has offered a compromise on a case-by-case basis. The girls are allowed to tie their sweaters around their waist to hide the menstrual blood stains if it happens. Each girl's name is then placed on a list, which is distributed to administrators so that she doesn't receive demerits for violating the dress code. This is so ridiculous. The Noble Network educates roughly 1 out of every 10 high school students in Chicago. If you haven't known, charter schools have been notoriously attacked for their prison-like rules in governing their schools, mostly black students with mostly white authority. Socialization isn't even permitted in these schools, not even in hallways or cafeterias. Many are saying this is another examples of the culture of dehumanization of students in the name of discipline and order. In my last story for tonight, I would like you guys to meet the talented 19-year-old who was booked to perform at the British royal wedding. The Kensington Palace has announced that 19-year-old cellist Sheku Mason is on the list of the artists scheduled to perform at the upcoming May 19th royal wedding between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Sheku, one of the brightest young stars on the classical music scene and winner of the 2016 BBC Young Musician of the Year competition, is already in great demand from major orchestras and major concert halls around the world. In January of this year, his debut recording for Decca Classics, Inspiration, was released, and it featured Shostakovich Cello Concerto No. 1 and the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. The album entered the official UK album charts at number 18, and it reached number 1 in the classical chart. Sheku's international career is developing very quickly, and he has already made very successful debuts with the BBC, National Orchestra of Wales, City of Birmingham Symphony, and the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra and an orchestra in Zurich. Sheku is very passionate about the importance of making classical music accessible to all, and is currently the first London Music Masters Junior Ambassador. He received the 2017 South Bank Sky Arts Breakthrough Award, and from 2018 and through 2019, he will become the Young Artist in Residence at the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic. He is currently a full-time scholarship student at the Royal Academy of Music, and he began learning cello at the age of 6 and then studied at the Junior Royal Academy of Music. For more information about this very talented musician, you can visit his website, shekunimmaso.com. All right, that is my last story here at the news desk. I'm going to kick it over to Jaco. Jaco, let them know what their sports stories are for today.
Hey everybody, it's Jaco. You can follow me at JacoIsIt. And here I am tonight on our Prime Sports Desk, giving you a perspective that isn't yours. All right, in our top news story, sports story. It's sports news.
Yeah, it is.
CJ Paul, brother of Rockets guard Chris Paul, was almost ejected from Houston's last playoff game versus the Utah Jazz. NBA referee, pictured here, James Williams, accused Paul of making inappropriate comments. Paul played college ball, and apparently Williams was a ref during several of his college games. This is the brother Paul. He said, I know how he operates. He said, I didn't see him say anything, but I know it was him. Chris Paul spoke to security on his brother's behalf, and they let him go and sit back down. Coincidentally enough, or not so coincidentally, with 20 seconds left to go in the game, Chris Paul got a technical foul from, you guessed it, referee James Williams. Apparently there was a call, and Chris just said, "That's awful." Teed up. I feel like the NBA referees have been for years getting away with bullcrap like this, and the league protects them. There have been many players, ambassadors like Tim Duncan, who have said, hey, these referees are biased. They are calling biased games. They are not being fair when they are refereeing these games. I know Indiana Pacer fans like to talk about how refs cheat. I don't know if they cheat so much as they do make bad calls because they're pissed off at something the player said. Now, I understand you're human. If someone says fuck you to me, I'm going to be mad at you, and probably I will want to be petty. But it's part of your job. If you guys want to set up a rule about language versus the refs and stick to that rule, fine. Then you hold the players accountable on that end. But the NBA needs to hold the referees accountable on their end. Referees need to be accountable. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And this year at the Kentucky Derby, guess what? Nobody was arrested inside Churchill Downs. That's great. The Louisville Metro Police Department reported there were no arrests at Churchill Downs during this year's Kentucky Derby. Over 180,000 attendees, not a single person was arrested. The Derby often leads to out-of-control visitors, according to the police, leading to plenty of arrests inside Churchill Downs. Last year, 8 whole people were arrested at the track. Now, what I think is very interesting about this story is I have never one time read a story about people getting arrested inside Churchill Downs. But the one year when nobody is arrested, it is a celebration. This story came to us from Sports Illustrated. Now, I did a little research, and the vast majority of Churchill Down attendees are white. So they're reporting that a bunch of white people did good this year. And this is sports news. And yet every major black event that I ever read about, only thing I hear about is how many arrests there were every year. So good reporting, Sports Illustrated, on this non-story. But I do appreciate, that you let us know that for once white people were behaving themselves. We appreciate that. And in my final story, football. Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah is shooting for the trifecta of the English Premier League awards. He's already won Footballer of the Year and Player of the Year, and is now on the short list for Premier League Player of the Season. Salah is a 25-year-old from Egypt, is being dubbed the best player in the world after tearing up the English Premier League this season. His nickname, the Egyptian King. So I guess that would make him the soccer league's LeBron James. Yeah? No? Okay. He scored 31 goals this season, the most in the entire league. Second to him were only 27 goals. So he was killing it. He was quoted as saying that this would be a big thing for Africa, knowing the history of England and the Premier League, for Salah to win. So we are pulling for him to get this final award. That is all I have for my sports stories today. Trezene, do we have comments?
I don't know. Do we have comments,
Producer, do we have comments?
I have feedback here from your actual broadcast. You only had a couple comments today. Let's see here. It's a lot of in-house stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to say, while you're looking at that, how is it that the R. Kelly employees are texting about this and they still working for this man? Like, really? Why are you still there?
I don't know. One of the things that I found fascinating was in the full article, they went into women who dated R. Kelly. So they weren't technically a part of the sex cult, but they were dating him, and how they noticed weird things happening. And they were complicit as well. Like, they stayed around long enough, but you're not saying anything once you're like, okay, I don't want to pursue this relationship further. It was unbelievable, just the level of people just being complicit. Even with Aaliyah, when they found out about the marriage and it got annulled and all of that kind of thing, how the label was like, nah, Aaliyah, you got to go to somewhere else. But we're going to keep Kelly because he's bringing in the money. Like, it's unreal. It's unreal. They all knew.
Yeah. Anthony Williams, how much they spend on this Popo idea, and Flint needs money for water.
Well, considering they use Microsoft Paint, I don't think they spend any money. But, I don't know.
That could be.
Jay-Z said it when they got into it back in the day. R. Kelly was a perv. Did Jay-Z really say that? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
I did not know that. Jay-Z said it in the song. Well,
However, I find that interesting because there has always been. This is just a rumor. This is what I'm about to say is not fact. So I almost don't even want to mention it because we try not to do that. But that there has been a very bizarre love triangle between Jay-Z, Damon Dash, and Aaliyah.
Yeah, that's heavy rumor.
Yeah.
That's heavy rumor.
Yeah, that's been, so it's, you know,
Yep.
it's ironic that you're the guy that, you know. And
I
you
see what
knew
you're
that.
saying.
Yeah, you knew that.
Right.
You know,
I see what you're saying.
And finally, I said, we're shaming women's menstruation cycle. What year is this?
Yes. Like, I find that to be unbelievable to do that. And the solutions you keep coming with have nothing to do with just letting people get up and go to the bathroom on their own. Because you treat kids like prisoners in these charter schools. I've substitute teacher taught at some. I've had kids in some, and listen, they don't get to do anything. They are treated like prisoners.
That's not blanket statement. That's not all charter schools.
The ones that are college or die, those ones, they treat those kids like prisoners. They almost like do chain gang lines. They gotta like, it's bizarre.
I want to say, I don't think it's just the charter school system. I think it's any school system where the children are predominantly of one demographic,
Yes.
and the teachers
Yes.
are being shuttled in from
Yes.
an hour away.
That's exactly right.
And they have no tie to the community.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And so I've seen this in public schools in the inner city where teachers are coming from the suburbs that have never lived in the area. So I don't think it's a charter school
Yeah,
thing.
if there's a particular charter school model that's being modeled all over the nation, it's not all charter schools, because you're exactly right, but there's a particular model where they literally target a specific group. They're usually what they term at-risk kids. They're, poor, no
At-risk.
one's been to college in their family, you know what I mean? And they pull them in and they just give them these prison-like rules to ensure discipline, to ensure that you get to college. Like it's bad. And you're right. They do always bring in teachers from outside that don't look like them. It is very scary to see. Very scary to see.
Our
So
education system is very scary to see.
It's antiquated. But if the thing that nobody really looks at, no one asks this question, that do you need to be in a classroom in a brick and mortar building for 8 hours?
Right.
Sitting down, then you take a lunch hour, then you go back. If you pay attention to that model, it is not teaching you.
No.
It is not educating you. It is to indoctrinate you
Yes.
for the workforce.
I think to
Right.
indoctrinate
That's
you,
right.
absolutely.
It is to indoctrinate you for the workforce. That you carry that model throughout your life. So when you really look at it, the people that do go to college, who set their own schedule, who set their own class, a lot of those people typically end up going into business for themselves.
That's true.
Because
That's
they've
true.
had this model like, I
That's
get up
very
when I
true.
want to get up. I set my own schedule.
Yep.
And they learn, like, I can do all of that at this time of day.
In about 4 hours.
Yeah. So,
Indeed.
Very accurate. Great comments, Revolution. Anything else?
nope.
All right, y'all. Well, this concludes this episode of Prime News. On Wednesday, The Woo Show will be back at around 8 p.m. talking all things WWE, UFC, MMA, and indie wrestling. And then on Thursday, Prime News will be back at 7 p.m.-ish. Following that will be True Baller Thursday with Jay Coizit and the Reggie Mathis. Again, if you haven't been to our website, thefifthcolumnnetwork.com, please go there. You can also subscribe to all of our platforms on social media on YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, and Twitter. With that, I'm Trezane. I was joined with J. Cole. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.